Are you confident you're watering your tomatoes the right way? What if I told you your usual watering can might be the biggest enemy of your future harvest? Most gardeners make the same common mistakes without even realizing it. Today, we're diving deeper than just watering. We're uncovering 7 tomato care secrets that will fundamentally transform your approach. Don't head out to your garden just yet. Not until you've watched this video all the way through. These insights might just save your tomatoes and lead to your best harvest ever. It's common knowledge, tomatoes absolutely love water. These luscious, sun-kissed fruits are 90% water. It seems simple enough. Just add more water for happiness. But that's precisely where the biggest pitfall lies for both beginner and seasoned gardeners. We tend to view watering as a straightforward task, but in reality, it's a nuanced science. It's not just about how much water to use, but how, when, and where you apply it. Because proper watering isn't just about quenching your plant's thirst. It's a complete ritual that directly impacts the flavour, size, and overall health of your tomatoes. So, let's uncover the first and perhaps most fundamental secret. Timing is everything. You've probably heard the debate. When's the best time to water? Morning or evening? It might seem like a minor detail, but this choice can actually determine whether your crop thrives or is consumed by disease. Many of us, after a long day at work, head straight to the garden with a hose or watering can. It seems logical. The sun has set, the heat has died down, and you can peacefully hydrate your tired plants. But it's precisely this habit that harbours a significant danger. Picture this. You've generously watered your tomatoes in the evening. The leaves are wet. The soil is damp. A cool night sets in. What does that sound like to you? That's right. It's the perfect breeding ground for fungi. The moisture that remains on the leaves and soil surface all night long is a veritable feast for unwelcome guests like blight and powdery mildew. They absolutely love cool, damp conditions. It's this overnight watering that most often leads to blackened leaves and ruined fruit. But it's not just about fungi. At night, plants just like us rest. Their vital processes, including photosynthesis and water absorption, slow down. They simply can't efficiently absorb all the water you've provided. As a result, water can stagnate in the root zone, leading to a lack of oxygen for the roots and even root rot. Now let's shift our focus to the morning. Morning watering is like a glass of water for us after waking up, or a cup of invigorating coffee. The plant wakes up, its engine starts, and it's ready to actively drink to gather strength for the upcoming hot day. All the moisture you provide goes directly to good use. Crucially, the rising sun and warm air quickly dry any incidental drops that land on the leaves. Fungi simply don't get a chance to establish themselves. Furthermore, the water has time to penetrate deep into the soil, to the roots, before the midday sun begins to intensely evaporate it from the surface. Of course, life happens, and it's not always possible to water early in the morning. If evening watering is your only option, try to do it as early as possible, several hours before sunset. In this scenario, the rule of watering only at the base becomes critically important, not a drop on the leaves. So remember this simple rule. A tomato's best friend is cool morning water. It's not a mere preference. It's your primary insurance against diseases and the key to healthy, robust plants. And now for the second secret, which is directly related to the first, but it's so crucial it deserves its own discussion. It's this: aim for the roots, not the leaves. Seems obvious, right? Unfortunately, in practice, most gardeners water their plants from above, generously drenching all the foliage. We think we're doing the plant a favour, giving it a refreshing shower. But in reality, we're creating 2 serious problems. Problem number 1, sun scorch. Every tiny droplet of water left on a delicate tomato leaf turns into a miniature lens under the sun's rays. Remember how we used a magnifying glass to burn wood as kids? The same thing happens here. The sun's ray, focused by the droplet, leaves a small but very real burn on the leaf, a yellow or whitish spot. A single burn might not be disastrous. But when there are dozens, the leaf blade gets severely damaged. And leaves are the factories that produce food for the entire plant. Damaged leaves work less efficiently, weakening the plant and leading to a smaller harvest. Sunburns, however, are just half the problem. Far more serious is problem number 2, which we've already mentioned: diseases. When water lands on leaves and stems, it creates that moist environment that fungal spores absolutely love, especially late blight spores. Imagine a spore of this harmful fungus floating through the air. It can land anywhere. If it lands on a dry leaf, nothing will happen to it. But if it lands in a cosy droplet of water, it immediately germinates and penetrates the plant's tissues. That's it. The infection has begun. By watering the leaves, you are literally opening the gates for infection and helping it spread. So, what's the right way? It's very simple. Tomatoes drink through their roots. That's exactly where the water needs to go. Take a watering can and remove the sprinkler head. Carefully pour the water directly into the root zone, trying to avoid washing away soil or getting it on the stem. The ideal solution is to set up drip irrigation. It not only conserves water, but also delivers it slowly and precisely to where it's needed, directly to the roots. Remember this simple image: we're feeding the plant, not washing it. All moisture and nutrients should come from below, from the soil. The upper, green part should remain dry and healthy. This simple principle will save you from a multitude of problems and spare you a lot of stress and money on disease control. Let's move on to the third secret, one that many people don't even consider: water temperature. Let's be honest, on a scorching summer day, there's nothing better than a glass of ice-cold water. But what feels so refreshing to us can be a real shock to your tomatoes. What do we usually do? We connect a hose to a well or tap and start watering. Water from a well typically ranges from 8 to 12 degrees Celsius. For sun-baked soil and a tomato's root system, this is like pouring a bucket of ice-cold water over yourself. After stepping out of a hot sauna, the plant experiences severe temperature shock. What happens at that moment? When exposed to icy water, the root system literally freezes up. The tiny feeder roots responsible for absorbing water and nutrients contract and temporarily stop functioning. The plant effectively stops drinking and eating. Even if there's plenty of moisture and fertilizer available, it simply can't absorb them. Its development halts for several hours and sometimes even for an entire day. If you regularly give your tomatoes these icy showers, the plant will be in a constant state of stress. It will grow slower, flower later, and produce smaller, less flavourful fruits. Furthermore, a plant weakened by stress becomes more vulnerable to various diseases. It's like a person who's constantly exposed to cold. They're more likely to catch a cold. So what's considered the ideal water temperature? The optimal choice is water that's close to the soil temperature, usually around 20 to 25 degrees Celsius. And achieving this is remarkably simple. The best and most proven method is to place a large barrel, tank, or any other container in your garden. Fill it with water in advance, for example, the evening before. Throughout the day, under the sun's rays, the water in the barrel will warm up to the perfect temperature. You can then use this warm, settled water for evening watering. Or if you water in the morning, the water won't have cooled down significantly overnight and will be much more comfortable for your plants than ice-cold water straight from the well. By the way, this method has another significant benefit. During the settling period, any chlorine in tap water dissipates and heavy metal salts settle at the bottom. This makes the water not only warm, but also softer and more beneficial for your tomatoes. So, show them a little care. Let the water warm up. Your tomatoes will surely thank you with vigorous growth and an abundant harvest. The fourth secret challenges a very common belief. It's simply this: less is often more. Many gardeners, especially beginners, are convinced that tomatoes need to be watered little by little every single day. It seems logical to keep the soil consistently moist, but in reality, this approach often does more harm than good. Let's explore what happens with frequent shallow watering. When you pour just a cup of water under the plant every day, the moisture only penetrates a few inches into the soil. What does the plant do in response? It learns that water is always available, but only right at the surface, and so it develops a shallow root system right in that top layer of soil. So, what's the big deal? The problem is, this shallow layer of soil is the most unstable. On a hot day, it dries out in a matter of hours. When it rains, it becomes waterlogged. Roots near the surface are constantly stressed, alternating between drought and oversaturation. Such a plant becomes weak and completely dependent on a daily dose of water. Miss even one day of watering during hot weather, and your plant will immediately wilt. Furthermore, shallow roots can't reach the vital nutrients that reside in deeper soil layers. The plant becomes dependent, entirely reliant on your supplemental feeding. Now let's look at the right approach. Infrequent, but deep watering. This means instead of daily watering, you might water once every 5 to 7 days, depending on weather and soil type. But when you do, ensure the water penetrates the soil to a depth of at least 12 to 16 inches, 30 to 40 centimetres. What does this accomplish? Firstly, you provide a powerful incentive for the plant. It senses that moisture is present, but it's deep down. To reach it, the plant must grow powerful, strong roots that extend deep into the earth. This kind of root system makes your plant robust and self-sufficient. It will be able to source its own water and nutrients from deeper soil layers, easily tolerating even several days of drought. Secondly, this watering method allows the top layer of soil to dry out between waterings. This is excellent for preventing fungal diseases and deterring gnats, which thrive in damp conditions. So, how do you know when it's time to water? Don't just check the calendar. Instead, check the soil itself. Poke it with your finger or a stick. If the soil feels dry about 2 to 3 inches, 5 to 7 centimetres deep, it's time. If it's still moist, your tomato can wait a bit longer. So, forget about daily trips with the watering can. Give your tomatoes a good deep drink of water once a week, and they'll develop a root system so robust, it would make any athlete envious. Secret number 5 is your ultimate ally in the fight for plant moisture and vitality. We're talking about mulching. You might have heard the term, but never really given it much thought. Big mistake. Mulching is one of the most effective, yet surprisingly simple, gardening techniques. So what exactly is mulch? Simply put, it's any organic material you use to cover the soil around your plants. This could be anything from mowed and slightly dried grass, straw, hay, fallen leaves, composted sawdust, or even shredded bark. You simply spread this material in a 5 to 10 centimetre layer around the base of your tomato plants, making sure to leave a small gap right at the stem to prevent rot. So, what exactly does this seemingly simple layer of organic matter do? It works wonders. First off, mulch acts like a protective blanket for your soil. It shields it from the sun's scorching rays. Think about how quickly bare soil dries out and cracks in hot weather. Beneath a layer of mulch, the soil stays significantly cooler and moister for much longer. Moisture doesn't evaporate as intensely, meaning you'll need to water far less often. Some reports even suggest mulching can cut your watering needs by nearly half. Secondly, mulch forms an effective barrier against weeds. A thick layer of organic material simply suffocates weeds, preventing them from reaching the light. Any stubborn few that do manage to sprout will be weak and easy to pull by hand. Imagine the time and effort you'll save on weeding. Third, mulch significantly improves soil structure. It creates an ideal environment for earthworms and beneficial microorganisms to thrive. These helpful allies aerate the soil, making it loose, airy, and more fertile. You'll no longer need to constantly loosen the soil after watering, worrying about disturbing delicate roots. And finally, fourth, mulch acts as a slow-release fertilizer. Throughout the growing season, it slowly breaks down, enriching your soil with vital organic matter and nutrients. Consider it a continuous, free, and long-lasting feeding program for your tomatoes. You can use virtually any organic material you have readily available. The main rule: avoid applying freshly mown grass in a thick layer, as it can heat up excessively and become slimy. Allow it to dry out slightly in the sun first, So if you haven't started mulching your garden beds yet, you absolutely must give it a try. It's a simple step that will dramatically transform your gardening routine, free up a huge amount of your time, and lead to healthier, happier tomatoes. The sixth secret is perhaps the most crucial: learning to understand your plant's language. Forget rigid schedules and calendars. A tomato plant is a living being, and its needs change daily based on weather, age, and developmental stage. Your best advisor is the plant itself. You just need to learn how to correctly read its signals. One of the most common signals we often misinterpret is drooping leaves at midday. Seeing this on a hot day, a novice gardener might panic and reach for the watering can. My tomatoes are dying of thirst, they might think. But in most cases, that's not what's happening. So, what's really going on? When the sun is high and intensely hot, the plant activates a protective mechanism. It deliberately allows its leaves to wilt slightly to reduce the surface area for evaporation and conserve precious moisture. The leaves become less rigid and droop. This isn't a sign of drought, it's a clever adaptation to the heat. If you pour a bucket of cold water onto the plant at this moment, you won't help. You'll actually do harm. The roots, sitting in hot soil, won't be able to absorb the cold water, and you risk causing the plant even greater stress or even scalding the roots. How can you tell if your tomato really needs water or if it's just protecting itself from the heat? It's quite simple. Don't rush to water during the day. Simply note how the plant looks and then check on it again in the evening, after the heat has subsided. If, as the sun sets, the leaves perk up again, becoming firm and vibrant, then everything's fine. There's enough moisture in the soil, and the plant was simply riding out the intense heat. No need to water it. However, if the leaves remain limp, droopy, and lifeless even in the cool evening, that's your true SOS signal. This means the soil's moisture reserves have truly run out, and the plant can't recover on its own. Now this is the time for a thorough, deep watering at the base. This simple test, observing the leaves' condition in the evening, is your most reliable indicator. It's far more accurate than any schedule. By learning to understand this language, you'll water your tomatoes only when they truly need it. You'll avoid both drying them out and dangerous overwatering, creating ideal conditions for your plants. And now for the most crucial part. Forget about a rigid watering schedule like every other day. The biggest breakthrough in tomato care happens when you start listening to your plants. Observe your plants at midday. Are the leaves a bit droopy? Don't grab the watering can just yet. Check them again in the evening. If they've perked up, it means there's enough moisture in the soil. They're simply protecting themselves from the midday heat. However, if the leaves remain wilted, even in the evening, that's your true SOS signal. That's the moment for a proper, deep watering right at the base. And now for the cherry on top, or rather, the tomato on top, the secret of stress. It sounds paradoxical, but it really works. A small, controlled deficit of water, when the fruits have filled out but haven't started to ripen yet, makes the plant think its life cycle is coming to an end. In a panic, it channels all its sugars and nutrients into the fruits to produce high-quality offspring before it's too late. The result? You get tomatoes that aren't watery, but incredibly sweet and flavourful. The key here is not to overdo it, and certainly not to let the plant completely wilt. It's a delicate balance, but one that yields amazing fruits. So, to recap, watering tomatoes isn't just a chore, it's an art. Water in the morning at the base of the plant with lukewarm water. Do it deeply, but infrequently. Use mulch. Learn to read your plant's signals, and don't be afraid to give them a slight shake-up for flavour. Thank you for watching this video to the end. We hope these secrets help you grow the harvest of your dreams. If you learnt something new and useful, please give us a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on more gardening hacks. Do you have any watering secrets of your own for tomatoes? Or perhaps you've made one of the mistakes we talked about. Share your experiences in the comments below. Let's discuss.